Namo Buddhaya, Namo Amitabha. Hello everyone. So today we're finally up to the final stage of the life of the Buddha, the Buddha's Mahaparinirvana. So after the Buddha tirelessly expounded the Dharma for 45 years, or some say 49 years, at the age of 80, he decided to enter Parinirvana in between two salad trees at Kushnagar. So Kushnagar is also one of the most famous Buddhist pilgrimage sites, and in the future we also hope to visit there to pay homage to Lord Buddha. So many people may not really understand what does the word Mahaparinirvana mean. So Maha means great. Parinirvana means nirvana without this physical body. And nirvana literally means blown out. Blown out of what? Blown out of all our afflictions. When the fire of illusion is extinguished, then there is nirvana. When all our 3 poisons or 5 poisons, greed, anger, ignorance, pride, and doubt, are extinguished, then there is nirvana. So why is it called a Mahaparinirvana? So this refers to the state of the Buddha. It's different from the Arahant's parinirvana or Pacceka Buddha's parinirvana. So this is really the Buddha state, and it's really inconceivable. So the question comes, why did the Buddha only live up to 80 years old? If he's a completely enlightened being, couldn't he live much longer than that? Why didn't he stay in the world much longer? Why he decided to enter Parinirvana at the age of 80? So actually the Buddha could stay in the world for much longer, and this was also revealed to us in the sutra. The Buddha also hinted at Ananda, his disciple, his attendant. But Ananda did not really invite the Buddha to stay longer in the world. So the Buddha observed that his time in the world is enough, and there was no need for him to stay longer. It was like his mission had already completed. So I'll also quote directly from the sutra. Ananda, beings with the 4 divine powers can live for a full kappa or less. The Tathagata now has great divine power, so why can't he live for a full kappa or less? At that time, the World Honored One opened the door to invite and spoke to Ananda. Ananda remained silent and did not realize. The World Honored One even spoke 3 times earnestly, but Ananda was confused and still did not understand. He did not invite the Tathagata to live for a full kappa or less to benefit the gods and people in the world. Why? Because he was deceived by the devil king Mara. At that time, the World Honored One spoke these words 3 times, but still saw that Ananda's mind was not enlightened, so he remained silent. At that time, the devil king Mara came to the Buddha and said to the Buddha, "The Tathagata should enter Parinirvana now. The Tathagata should enter Parinirvana now. Why? In the past, I was by the Niranjana river and urged the Tathagata to enter Parinirvana. The Buddha saw me and replied, 'My 4 groups of monks, nuns, upasakas, and upasikas are not yet complete. They have not yet subdued the other heretics. Therefore, I should not enter Parinirvana. Tathagata, the 4 groups of people are now complete. You have also subdued the other heretics. All the things you have done are complete. Now you should enter Parinirvana.' At that time, Mara asked 3 times in this way. The Tathagata immediately replied, 'Well said. In the past by the Naranjana river, I promise you, because the 4 groups of people were not complete, I have not entered Parinirvana. Now they are complete. In 3 months, I'll enter Parinirvana.' At that time, Mara heard the Buddha's words and was overjoyed. He returned to the heavenly palace. So even if the Buddha had the ability to stay in this world, actually for countless kalpas with the physical body, this is actually real. The Buddha has the power to do that, but he will also not demonstrate like that, because he also wants to remind people about impermanence. This physical body is very vulnerable and is subject to impermanence. But the Buddha could have stayed for longer if Ananda invited the Buddha to stay longer. But Ananda did not invite the Buddha to stay longer because he was under the influence of Mara. And on the other hand, Mara invited the Buddha to enter Parinirvana. So the Buddha is very compassionate, and his compassion also extends to Lord Mara. And the Buddha also observed that he had completed his job, his mission here on earth. He had his Sangha all set up. So whoever that have not been saved, they can also be saved by his disciples' teachings. So it was not necessary for him to remain longer in the world. Now, question comes, where did the Buddha go after Parinirvana? So this, I'm sure many people want to know, like where exactly did Shakyamuni Buddha go after Parinirvana? Now, we also talk about how the state of Parinirvana, particularly the state of the Buddha, is really inconceivable, which means that it cannot be conceived by our ordinary mind. The ordinary mind cannot really comprehend the Buddha's Parinirvana. Even the Arahants, the practical Buddhas, cannot really comprehend the Buddha's Parinirvana. Only at the level of the Buddha, one can completely understand the Buddha's Parinirvana. So the higher knows the lower doesn't know the higher. So the Buddha Tathagata, Tathagata means the thoughts come one. So the Tathagata's true body is actually the Dharma body. The Dharma body is actually unchanged, eternal. No birth and no death, no beginning and no end. So the Buddha will actually never die because the Dharma body is eternal. It's always here and everywhere. I will discuss how the Buddha has three bodies. The Dharma body, which is eternal, unchanged, no birth and no death, no beginning and no end, no creation, no cessation, infinite light and life. And also the Sabhakaya, the rewards body, where the Buddha dwells when they're in the Pure Land, the Buddha's Pure Land. And also the Nimanakaya, the transformation body, like Shakyamuni Buddha appear in our world in this time. This is one of his transformation, one of his performance. The Buddha can also simultaneously appear in all kinds of worlds and realms to deliver sentient beings, to expound the Dharma. So the Buddha will never really die. Incorrect to say the Buddha died. That's just for non-Buddhists or people who don't really have much knowledge about the Buddha's true body, which is the Dharma body, unchanged. A metaphor like this is like the full moon. The Dharma body is kind of like the full moon. And the full moon has all kinds of reflections on lakes, on rivers, and people from different places, they can all see this moon's reflection in all kinds of places. So the transformation body is kind of like the moon's reflection. There is only one full moon, this Dharma body, but through this Dharma body, it can manifest all kinds of reflections, manifestations in all kinds of places at the same time. And according to people's mind, they also see this reflection differently. Some people, they may see this full moon, or they may see this waning moon. When the moon wanes, it's not because the full moon wanes, because something hides the moon, so people cannot really see the full moon. But the full moon is unchanged, just like the Dharma body. Okay, I'll also quote directly from the sutra, so you will have an idea where is Shakyamuni Buddha after his Parinirvana, his performance. The celestial beings and humans and assurers of all the worlds all think, this Shakyamuni Buddha left his home in the palace of the Shakya clan, went to a place not far from the city of Gaya, sat at the side of enlightenment and attained ultimate complete enlightenment. Good people, in reality, incalculable millions of eons had already passed since I became enlightened. During all this time, I have always been in the world of endurance, teaching, and I have been guiding living beings in countless millions and billions of other lands too. Good people, all this while, though I have spoken of various Buddhas by name, and I have spoken of them entering nirvana, all this was just a matter of expedient means. Good people, when living beings come to me, I look upon them with the eyes of a Buddha, and I observe the sharpness of their faculties of faith and so on. Then, according to what's necessary to save them, I speak to them in particular ways according to the circumstances. I use different names, and I may appear to be older or younger, and I may appear to speak of entering nirvana, and I may use all kinds of expedient means to explain the subtle wondrous teaching. In this way, I can enable living beings to develop the mind of joy. Good people, the Tathagata has seen that living beings take pleasure in minor teachings, that their merits are meager and their defilements heavy. I have told such people that when I was young, I left home and attained ultimate complete enlightenment. In reality, I achieved Buddhahood long, long ago, but I said this as an expedient means, in order to teach such people and enable them to enter upon the path to enlightenment. Because living beings have all sorts of natures, all sorts of desires, all sorts of karma, all sorts of thoughts and distinctions. In order to enable them to develop the roots of goodness, the Tathagatas use various kinds of causes and conditions, metaphors and explanations, words and phrases, and teach in all kinds of ways without ever interrupting their work as enlightened beings. In this way, it has already been a long, long time since I became a Buddha. My lifespan is countless trackless eons, and I abide always without becoming extinct. Good people, the lifespan that I achieved when I originally traveled the Bodhisattva path has still now not been exhausted, and its many multiples of the inconceivable length of time described above. There will not really be final extinction here in this life, yet I announce that I'm going to achieve final nirvana. Tathagata uses this expedient means in order to teach and transform living beings. If they believed that the Buddha would always be there and never disappear, they would be smug and feel complacent and lazy. They would be unable to conceive of how hard it is to encounter an enlightened being and unable to generate an attitude of respect for an enlightened being. This is the reason that Tathagatas use expedient means and tell people you must realize that it's hard to get the opportunity to meet with the enlightened ones when they appear in the world. Why do we do this? People of meager virtue pass through millions of eons and they may or may not recognize an enlightened being. And for this reason, we tell them how hard it is to get to meet the Tathagata. When they hear these words, they are sure to think how hard it is to encounter an enlightened being, and their minds become eager for the experience, and they hunger for an enlightened being, and so they plant the roots of goodness. This is why, even though we do not really in reality become extinct, the Tathagatas speak of final extinction. Good people, the teachings of all the enlightened ones of all the Tathagatas are like this. They are to save living beings and are all true, not false. Okay, so where is Shakyamuni Buddha? It tells us really clearly from the sutra. Shakyamuni Buddha is still in our world, and also all other worlds to help save sentient beings. He still practices the Bodhisattva path. He would not come here as a Buddha because we are still under the teaching period of Shakyamuni Buddha. In one world, there could only be the teaching period of one Buddha at one particular time, so people would not be confused. But he can appear as an ordinary being or in all kinds of identities to help us to deliver the Dharma, to help save sentient beings. And in the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, the Buddha also said he could appear as even a bad person from the outside. He could even go into brothel or into casino, but that's not because he is a bad person, but he wants to help save those sentient beings. So the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they will appear like us to help save us. Also, Devadatta, many people think Devadatta is just an evil person, but if you have studied and read the Lotus Sutra, you will know that Devadatta is actually also a Bodhisattva. So don't think the Bodhisattva only played a good role. A Bodhisattva can also take up the bad role, because without the darkness, we don't really understand the light. So they got to be the good role and the bad role, so people can understand better. So the Bodhisattvas, the Buddha's performance, are really magical and really inconceivable. In fact, from the Lotus Sutra, it also told us that every Buddha has his Devadatta. So don't think Devadatta is an evil guy. He may appear as an evil person, but he's actually a Bodhisattva. His true state is also a Bodhisattva, and he will also realize Buddhahood. So Shakyamuni Buddha is still in our world. He's still among us to help us, to teach us, to guide us. It's just that we don't really have the wisdom to identify the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas amongst us. So we should really respect all beings. That's why in the 10 great practices and vows of Bodhisattva Samadhi, the first thing is to pay homage to all the Buddhas, Tathagatas, because you never know who are the Buddhas. Everyone has the Buddha nature, and the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are always amongst us. So we should always try to respect all beings, because they could very well be Shakyamuni Buddha, Guan Yin, Siddhigarbha, Samadhi, Manjusri. We never know. Okay, so if you want to understand the Buddha's Mahaparinirvana, I highly encourage people, if you have the time, to read the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, the Lotus Sutra. But again, this state of Mahaparinirvana is inconceivable. It cannot be conceived by our ordinary mind, and not even an Arahant or practical Buddha can understand the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, and also the Buddha's Mahaparinirvana. So if you really want to experience this state, an easy way is to first nianfo and vow to attain rebirth in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. Once you are in the Pure Land, you can realize Buddhahood quickly, and you will understand what exactly is the Buddha's Mahaparinirvana. Now, one more thing, also before the Buddha entered Mahaparinirvana, Ananda, his attendant, also asked, after you enter Parinirvana, who should be our teacher? So the Buddha said, let the precepts be your teacher. So precepts are highly important in Buddhist practice. We discussed the 3 learnings in Buddhism. Through discipline, that is by observing the precepts, one can give rise to meditative concentration. Through meditative concentration, it can give rise to wisdom. So that's why precepts are highly important, even for Pure Land practitioners. We'll also discuss about the morality, the moral principles for Pure Land practitioners in the near future. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Amitabhaya.